From the swamp to the stars, it is that time of the night once again where we get to Tim Seanor and the UFO report.
Nobody's gonna know.
They're gonna know.
Tim Seanor holding up a book from the legendary Jim Goodall. I hope you're bringing that to Vegas to get him to autograph it.
That thing weighs like 15 pounds and it's like massive. I don't know. Yeah, I definitely want to. It's initially why I got the book, but I'll tell you what, after digging in and realizing what I was getting myself into with this baby, there's a ton of information. This is actually, I'm holding it up simply because it's going to be potentially a topic we're covering tonight. So absolutely a fantastic book by a legend. And I got a few of them here. I would love to get them all signed, but it would be like, I think I'd have to have an extra carry-on just for his library.
I had to laugh. I don't know if you saw this or not, but on the drive.com, they had a very long story about the Lockheed Skunk Works, kind of hinting that there may have been a replacement currently flying that replaced the SR-71 30 years ago. And what the funny part about it, that's not funny. Okay, but the funny part about it is random guy hears me say this on the air and I get a text message. No, not the SR-72, buddy. Not the SR-72. I just wish one day he could go into detail. You know, the damn NDAs get in the way all the time, you know, but I was like, oh, come on, just spill the beans. Spill the beans. No. You know, but you look at what Michael Schratt states, that we may already be up to an SR-75, you know, and that hypersonic speed could be a possibility with that aircraft. I mean, we may have just got a little bit of a big tip with Top Gun Maverick, where he flies the Dark Star.
Aurora. Wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, it could have been the Aurora, but nobody's ever going to say anything.
Right. It is so cool, though. And it's cool to think of potential reverse engineering and all kinds of goodies that's being implied by some of the new topics that we're seeing spun into the UFO world of all things. And as you probably know, recently Liberation Times did a great article. And if you'd like me to dive right in, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So as I said, Liberation Times recently did an article on Lockheed Martin challenging the UFO legacy programs as politicians are now discussing talking hearings. And so from Christopher Sharp, we get this great article, and let's get into it. Journalist and filmmaker Jeremy Corbell has challenged the U.S. Senate Committee on Appropriations to audit alleged unidentified anomalous phenomenon special access programs, citing specifically Lockheed Martin as an example. And while appearing on Newsmax a few days ago, alongside Representative Tim Burchett, who is also a UAP transparency advocate, Corbell referenced the committee's chair, Patty Murray, and its vice chair, Susan Collins, in his challenge. And in this quote, he says, "I would like to also encourage you, Congressman Tim Burchett, with whatever power that you do have with your colleagues, to do one thing in particular right now. We have the U.S. Senate Committee on Appropriations. They have jurisdiction over the spending. And so we have Senator Patty Murray. We have Senator Susan Collins, who are able to audit the special access programs, such as ones that are held like you're talking about at Lockheed Martin." And so Corbell also named Lieutenant General Dimitri Henry the Director of Intelligence from the U.S. Joint Chief of Staff as key to transparency efforts. And so, in this following quote, so I would like to include in this investigation, which I ask of you, for example, Lieutenant General Dimitri Henry, you know he is the current Director for Intelligence Joint Staff, J2. They have authority and management over the Intelligence Committee, and they should be asking questions. If we do have UFO exploitation programs, I'm calling the silver bullet, they should be able to ask of Lockheed and other contractors, what are they working on? And so Lou Elizondo, former director of Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, backed up Corbell's comments, telling Liberation Times, I applaud the effort to get to the bottom of any legacy efforts to exploit UAP materials, and have stated in the past my position on this matter. I would also go a step further and not limit the focus of the inquiry to just one aerospace company, but to several others that have likely played a key historical role in this endeavor. And so before we get a little deeper into this, your first thoughts, Dave, I'd love to bring you in.
Well, once again, we hear the word UAP used around man-made objects, man-made craft. I find that very, very coincidental, if not on purpose. I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, you and I have bantered back and forth over the last few weeks about UAP versus UFO. And if we're talking about an argument of what the United States is really flying, I'll be honest with you, I'm going to side with the government on this one. I would like to know what the toys are. I think all of us would like to know what the toys are. However, in part to national security in the United States, I don't think in the world we live in right now, it's a safe thing to come out and say, hey, we have hypersonic jets. We have hypersonic this or hypersonic that. I don't think we need to be there right now. Okay. And if you go back in time a little bit previous, like a decade or two, the F-35 has been pushed on many governments, including the United States, as a fifth-gen fighter. The F-22s were way too expensive for what they were getting. I mean, the jets have gone, from where it doesn't sound expensive, but when the F-18s were first created, they were selling around $40 to $45 million per aircraft. F-16s were in that $35 million range. F-15s were in that $50 million range. When you're looking at 150 million plus for an F-22 or 65 to 85 million per F-35, I realize there's inflation and new technology, but when you're paying $400,000 for a specialized pilot's helmet, comparatively to a $2,000 helmet that an F-18 pilot can wear, that gets a little ridiculous. And I think they price themselves out. But that being said, if that technology that is being tested today is going to further enhance safety of the allies, keep it quiet. I don't think there's, and it's weird because I am so different when it comes to UFOs. I really am. I want transparency on the UFO topic. That's how you get to any sort of disclosure. But for this one, I'm not so sure, Tim. I'm not so sure. It's an ugly world east and west of us here in North America. We're on our big island of our own. And we need to make sure that this area still remains safe.
Of course. Of course. And I guess I would just highlight what Lou Elizondo put forth here, in that he supports any effort to get to the bottom of any legacy efforts to exploit UAP materials. And I feel that's pretty simple. He's hoping to find out if there's anything historical that we can look at that was recovered materials from UAP that was used in potential reverse engineering. And I'm sure that there has to be a discussion that could be had where you could disclose without giving away ways and means of our current assets. There must be a discussion that we can have historically, perhaps, so that if it's a discussion about something that's technology that's already public, maybe they can discuss some of the reverse tech that they used in order to do that. That would be hypothetically one way, and I think that that's what we're looking at here: legacy efforts that he's discussing. So I think that's more of a focus on what they can talk about.
I get that, and I can really appreciate that. I really can. But one of the other things that we need to note on this, Tim, is that if the United States really cared about UFOs, okay, they would be able to tell their own people. And maybe this is the secret as to why the Air Force and many others don't really want to talk about it publicly, because what flies out of Area 51 and places like that now are considered UFOs by people like you and me, the uneducated of what's actually flying out there. And the other thing that we need to remember is we need to be able to, with knowing that the Air Force and Skunk Works and other projects that are out at places like Area 51, they are doing that for the future. They already know what they have and what they're working on. Therefore, why aren't the military crossing out those, or Congress crossing out those? Look, we're test flying X-91 right now, or we're flying out SR-77. I'm just picking up numbers here. Okay, we already know that they're there. Not the public, but they know. So why are they crossing those off the list of saying, no, that's ours, no, that's ours, no, that's ours? Or is there zero communication right across the board? This is what we don't know. Because remember, for every aircraft that they test or that goes into service per se, there's probably a dozen aircraft that have been tested in between that. And you can learn that from the numbers system. So for instance, the original F-18 Hornet was by McDonnell Douglas was originally scheduled to be a YF-17. And then when they perfected it, they changed it because the F-17 was a different, smaller aircraft. They changed it to the FA-18. So they change the numbers all the time. Where's the F-19? Where's the F-20? Well, they had the F-20 Tiger Shark. Where's the F-21 before the F-22? What was tested between the F-22 and the F-35? We have the B-1. We have the B-2. What was tested between the B-2 and the B-21? We don't know. Number patterns are
B-2A Spirit.
Absolutely. But either way, where's the B3? Where's the B4? Where's the B5? B6, B7, B8, right up to 21. We know they used to have the 50s numbers because in World War II, it started with the 40s, and then the B-52, you had the B-58 Hustler. You had the XB-70 that never went into service. It looked like a Concorde, but was a bomber shaped. There were only two of those built. So, I mean, there's a little bit that kind of goes into it.
Yeah. Well, let me complete this couple of sentences here out of the article.
We got one.
In the early 1990s, former State Majority Leader Robert Baird, who was chair of Senate Committee on the Appropriations, and the late Senator Harry Reid, tasked a congressional staffer named Richard D'Amato with investigating claims of secret UAP special access programs. And investigating and visiting Area 51, D'Amato was unable to verify claims relating to such programs. But according to investigative journalist George Knapp, thought it entirely feasible that this UFO cover-up exists within a private company, any company, such as Lockheed Martin, EG&G, or Northrop Grumman. There you go. He did some investigating before he came up with this concept. And so I do believe it's possible that these programs exist. I mean, it was all compartmentalized so much, it's possible.
Very true. Very true. When we come back on Spaced Out Radio, we are going to get into the latest controversial UFO words of Avi Loeb, the Harvard professor and astro. Been a mothership fly right by, maybe dropping off its own drones with parachutes. I don't know. I really don't. But we'll get into it with Tim Seanor of the UFO Report when we return on Spaced Out Radio after our final break of the night. Stay tuned. Good solid start there, Timmy.
That was fun. I wish Jim Goodall was in our chat tonight. He could have straightened us out on some of those birds.
Right. You're very right.
Can't wait to meet him in person in
Oh,
Vegas.
you're going to love him. He is amazing.
We definitely share a taste in shirts in common, I think.
Oh, yeah. You guys shop at the same haberdasher.
That's right. Vegas is a great place to shop too, buddy. He's like, no, I'm just in there for the gambling, right?
Me? No.
You just like all the bright lights.
I do like the bright lights.
Yeah, it's great.
Can you believe me?
We had fun.
Can't wait to go back.
Yeah.
Can't wait to go back. Gonna be a blast.
Let's see if I can pull out some Dave in Vegas photos.
Oh, let's not say we did.
They're all fantastic.
No, please do not.
Okay.
I would appreciate that. I would appreciate that.
They're not all of you.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No. I don't rock nice shirts like you do.
I think you were rocking some sporty shirts while we were there, though. Come on.
I wasn't feeling well, remember?
I do remember that, but you really hung in well. We had a blast.
Yes.
Well, it was also at the tail end of a few days of work for you.
Oh, I got home, dude, and I was so bloody tired.
Yeah.
So tired. Crazy. It was crazy. I can't wait to get back.
From San Francisco?
San Francisco first. So just a reminder, tomorrow night and Friday, Jessica Jones, the Cryptid Huntress, will be hosting for me. And then on Monday, Marquise Williams will be hosting for me. I will be back on the air on Tuesday. But we wanted to make sure that you guys still all had live shows to listen to. Hey, Joshua 420, welcome to SOR Chat. So I am looking forward to getting away for a couple days. I already have my plan. Uber to the airport. While I'm in the Uber, ordering Taco Bell. Get my room, and go pass out for like 2-3 hours.
That's the perfect Dave day right there.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah. We don't go into downtown San Fran. We stay in the airport area, hotel area. It stopped snowing and the melt is on. Hey, YJ, is the melt on where you are too? Yeah.
My school in San Francisco is on Montgomery Street, which at one end connects with the other street that your convention is on.
Oh, really?
It's my stomping ground. Yeah, I went to the Academy of Art University in San Francisco.
There is a giant Marine Corps cemetery there. And it is so beautiful. I'd never ever, the first time I went to San Francisco, I caught a cab because I wanted to get my hair trimmed and I didn't have time to get it trimmed out here. And I was a little messy. And this one I had long hair the first time. And long story short, I'd never seen the row on row white headstones before.
No
I'd never
kidding.
seen that. And as we're driving along this bypass, it bypasses the entire cemetery, and this cemetery is huge. But I'd never seen it before. I couldn't take my eyes off it. I wanted to walk over there and just pay respects.
Yeah, I think
But
you're talking about the cemetery in the Presidio. It's pretty famous.
is that what it
Yeah,
is?
it's
I
out
honestly
out
don't
of
know.
the film, and it's a famous part. And in fact, George Lucas purchased that whole Presidio area and turned it into studios for LucasArts, believe it or not. But yeah, sorry, go ahead. It is incredible area.
I'd never seen that before, so it would be cool. 10 seconds to go here. Thank you, Cat Chaser, Pam S, Disk, Kira, Jake, Eric, Deb, and Shelly for the amazing super chats. Here we go, everyone. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are, this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Here we go. Once again, Tim Seanor and the UFO report. And Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb is back in the news, Tim, believing that our solar system may have been recently visited. What's going on here?
Yeah, so recently Avi Loeb co-authored a paper with Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the director of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office from the Pentagon. And Dr. Loeb describes physical constraints on interpretations of, quote, highly maneuverable UAPs using known forms of matter and radiation. And so, according to the study, the friction of UAPs with surrounding air or water is expected to generate a bright optical fireball, ionization shell, and tail, implying radio signatures. And the lack of these signatures could indicate inaccurate distance measurements for single site sensors without range gate capability. And so Dr. Loeb explains NASA was tasked by the US Congress to find 90% of all near Earth objects that are larger than 140 meters, resulting in the creation of the Pan-STARRS telescope. And so in 2017, an unusual NEO named Oumuamua was discovered. And this raised the possibility that it was a thin and artificial in origin. And so later, NASA discovered that a definitely artificial object, such as a rocket booster 2020 SO, exhibited similar behavior. And so now the consideration of artificial interstellar objects that can release many small probes during its close passage to Earth are becoming a possibility. And so these probes could reach Earth or other solar system planets for exploration and would be undetectable for existing survey telescopes, but could be detected by deep space radars and space fences. And so these dandelion seeds could be separated by the parent craft of the tidal gravitational force of the sun or maneuvering capability, and a small ejection speed far away could lead to a large deviation from the trajectory of the parent craft near the sun. And so the changes would manifest both in arrival time and the distance to the closest approach to Earth. So basically what we're hearing in concept here is the idea of sending a large craft and then sending out seedling crafts to go and check out the planet up close. kind of what he's insinuating we're seeing with the UAP, potentially, that outside of our solar system there awaits a mothercraft of some sort. So a lot of big thoughts coming with a little bit of science and some conceptual ideas. But this is actually a paper that was formalized by two leading scientists and being presented as a possibility. Dave, your thoughts on this out of the box thinking? Is this the kind of paper that we need to see? Or is this kind of conjecture leading real scientists to perhaps scratch their heads as to what path these scientists are on?
Well, one of I have a lot of questions and comments about this, and we're probably going to talk about this for the rest of the show. Okay, first off, Arrowhead Sean Kirkpatrick is also believed to have ties to Enigma Labs. Okay, and there's a good chance that Kirkpatrick, who is within the 2-year radius of retiring from his government position, will end up working for Enigma Labs, which makes sense that he would write this article with Avi Loeb as all the groups come together and try and focus on Enigma. Coincidence? Maybe not. Okay. But here's the other thing, and this may sound woo here, but I'm going to try and do some reading between the lines here, Tim, because you know I like to do that. And very, very, very rarely am I wrong. I'll pat my own back there. Why would they say a mothership? Why would they say that it's possible it's out there? And let me explain this a little bit, and I hope I do a good job with this. For years, experiencers like R. Keith Andrews, Samantha Mowat, and many others that we have had on this show who don't know each other have talked about this galactic federation ship that is sitting just outside of our moon area. This giant ship that this federation of extraterrestrials has been there. We've heard them say it, that they're all waiting for humanity to grow up, stop the infighting, start acting like a communal citizen of planet Earth, and that's what they're waiting for. Well, technically, isn't that what Avi Loeb and Sean Kirkpatrick are writing about? So how can all these woo tinfoil hatters who make these outlandish claims that there is this Galactic Federation mothership sitting out there behind the moon somewhere, wherever it is, and then all of a sudden Avi Loeb and Sean Kirkpatrick come out with this theory that there has been a mothership passing by and may have dropped off its own spy drones to monitor what's happening all across planet Earth? To me, yes, I have my tinfoil hat on. It sounds a little too coincidental, Tim. Sounds a little too coincidental. And even if it's not, Tim, my question would then be, knowing the position of Sean Kirkpatrick right now, what did they see? What have they found? Did one of the satellites, whether it's Hubble or others, did they see a craft? We'll never know. Did they see a giant 10-mile wide, 100-mile wide craft to call a mothership? To give them that information? Are they going on some sort of molecular structure or signatures that computers are picking up from space? Because to me, it sounds just a little bit too much of a reach and too sci-fi. But when you put it all together, reading between the lines, the stupidity of it all, it makes sense. I hope I described that well.
No, you did great. But I'm just wondering if we're supposed to forget about Kirkpatrick and Loeb collaborating, and then Loeb releasing his very quick description of the Ukrainian Phantom as mundane debris, or rockets of our own. And now we're seeing the exact side, the other side of the coin, coming on this hypothetical paper between the same two people. And Kirkpatrick went all the way to Loeb's house, in fact, with the data on the Ukrainian Phantom, to initiate that discussion and have Loeb prepare a paper on his decision of that being a mundane uh, thing that we were looking at. And so when I see something like this, this describing the other side of the argument for UAP, I see a description of somebody that's looking for the top scientist in the field to collaborate with, and perhaps put a paper together to initiate funding for the next Arrow. That's just me spitballing that. We know that usually a paper is written either at the beginning or end of a funding procedure, if you will, or time slot. And so if we're seeing the end of the funding and the end of Arrow now, we need something else. We need something a little more flexible. And I think that's great because the topic is still moving forward. But again, it wouldn't be surprising if you're seeing another round of requesting for funding into this. So it's more of another request for dollar signs. And I hate to be that way because I love seeing this conversation. And I do also love the concept that we need to search our own backyard, for the possibility of intelligent life. But at the same rate, I just see manipulation, when I see them getting this flexible with this wordage.
Tim, can I also state something? And I don't know the answer to this. Okay. I really don't. But how often in American politics do we hear of top secret program officials writing hypothetical reports with citizen university scientists? Does that I honestly don't know the answer to that, being up here in Canada. I don't know if it happens in our educational system or if it happens down there. But take the topic, say it happened in forestry or mining or nuclear energy, or something that isn't top secret. Does that happen a lot, where these program heads will write a hypothetical report with university professors?
Yeah, I've got a book full of them, and here's one of them who we know collaborated that way. J. Allen Hynek, and I'm holding up his book, The UFO Experience, here. And in the back, it documents plenty of collaborations between scientists and government officials, high ranking government officials, in order to discredit UFO topics sometimes, or to carry on the UFO narrative in order to benefit maybe programs. We don't know, because back then a lot of that I don't think had really been. We're very progressive with the concept of reverse engineering now, but I don't think that they were quite there yet, that things were being hidden within Lockheed Martin, for example.
No,
So
I understand that, but outside of UFOs, is this happening?
outside of ufology, I haven't looked, but I imagine in weather, of
Maybe.
course. And I imagine there's a lot of collaboration that takes place between high-ranking scientists and high-ranking officials in government in order to deal. I mean, I'm sure of it, in fact, because we have massive disasters that take place all the time, and there has to be collaborations. But I think on this topic, that is very much, a hot button, and the fact that they're throwing around UFO and UAP so casually right now in the media, you really don't know what you're reading and why. But when I see something like this, I just think back to the last time these two people worked together and what they came up with. And it was to explain away a video that was coming from the Ukrainian war showing Phantom UAP. And then now we're talking about the possibility of having a mothership just within our solar system, spreading dandelion type UAPs down to Earth to gather information. And they're even talking about some of these probes being extremely abundant and being able to multiply exponentially and things like that. And so there's a lot of concepts being thrown around within this paper of the dandelion seed, the universal assemblers, and things like this are all quotes from this paper. A lot of conjecture, a lot of deep thought went into this, obviously, but it's based on some other physicists, such as John von Neumann's theory, right? So they did a little bit of research before they brought this forward, but it is interesting as to maybe why at this time is this paper being released and why by these two people.
I just found it coincidental.
Yeah.
And I apologize if my question seemed quite naive about it, but I am in regards to how that works. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just a journalism guy after all. Just a
Yeah.
journalism guy.
I don't think that you'd see a lot of conjecture typically in a collaboration like this. This is very much in the woo. We're solidly in the woo. But if anyone follows how Avi Loeb writes in medium.com, he writes pretty regularly there, and he writes a lot of outside of the box papers. So he's a very forward thinking person. So for him, it's not surprising. But for him to write a paper with a high ranking government official, Sean Kirkpatrick, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. The two of them obviously agree on some of this for them to put this paper forward. And again, I think that it's important to, highlight the fact that it is always a timing thing. We're seeing a very maybe coming to a close arrow, like I stated earlier, and perhaps we're looking for something new coming forward in need of looking into the ocean and looking out into space and maybe recovering some of those potential interstellar objects that Avi Loeb is so excited to go and scour the ocean floor for.
Could very well be. Could very well be. What's your thoughts, though, that all of these people, Tim, who've never met, all of these experiencers out there seem to talk about this galactic federation ship that is out there beyond the moon somewhere, that has been there for years waiting for humanity to smarten on up. And just so happens, Loeb talks about a mothership as well. Coincidence? Or, like, what's your thoughts on that?
Has Avi Loeb been watching Gaia TV? I don't know. I think it's excellent, but at the same rate, it throws up a lot of red flags because um, I feel that you need, according to Avi Loeb, you need to think clearly, and you need to be able to have data to support your theories. So I think what we're seeing is him put a theory forward, and then hopefully he wants to collect data to support it. And so we do know that he is poised to get funding to take a boat out to recover portions of what they have considered to be an interstellar object confirmed by NASA. And if they were to recover that, they believed that this changed trajectory and direction when it came into Earth's atmosphere, because it was tracked the entire way. So they have a pretty good idea. But upon investigation, I find out that this object that they're looking for is possibly only a foot to 3 feet long. And so literally a needle in the haystack, if they're hoping to recover that from the bottom of the ocean, even with the good navigation coordinates that they have. But I love science. I love the idea that they're trying to prove that maybe there's a mothership out there, but it definitely dives a little bit into the woo. And could it potentially discredit the people that are involved with that organization? And is that intentional with this paper? You wonder what the motivations behind people getting attached to others sometimes are. And without them revealing why and their methods, then you just kind of have to sit back and wonder. But I think exactly what you're saying is kind of on the right track. It is an interesting collaboration. What do you think about it?
I'm suspicious. I really am. And I know there's going to be people out there, Tim, who look at it and say, of course you are, Dave. You don't believe anything from the government. You don't believe anything from this or whatever. whatever it may mean. Okay. I understand that and I appreciate that, but I don't understand a collaboration between these two individuals. I just don't. We know they're working together. We know it's going to tie in to Enigma Labs and whatever direction they are going. And it just makes me cringe that somebody who is holding deep secrets regarding this topic will then write a hypothetical report on motherships. That is more woo than seeing a flying saucer in the sky.
Right. Well, could it be that we just had Balloon Gate, where UAPs were determined to be balloons, and we need to reinvigorate the UFO aspect with a little bit of the woo? And this paper was perhaps reinvigorating the UAP aspect, the UFO aspect of UAP. And I love Derek's mention here. I think that that's great. They could be right in front of our face and we wouldn't know, right? Because not only is their technology awesome, but we don't have tech, or we don't see them with our naked eyes, and maybe we don't even have tech that sees this mothership yet. So I think that's a great comment.
I love Jeremy's comment here. They can't find flight MH370, the Boeing 777, but you'll think they'll find a 3-foot alien probe? I doubt it.
Yeah.
Good point, Jeremy.
But they'll definitely chuck 3.3 million at the attempt, and any more that you're willing to donate or dedicate to it. And that's another reason why I think you're starting to see Avi more than happy to attach himself to Sean Kirkpatrick, because that means you're getting federal dollars, doesn't it? Potentially for the Galileo project.
I think it leads to a meeting with Peter Thiel, the funder of $5 to $7 million for the Enigma Labs.
Ding.
Okay. And it also steers Galileo project and all of their findings to go under the Enigma Labs, much like Rich Hoffman stated. Look, this is the Lego building blocks of ufology, where we're seeing all of these partnerships and collaborations come together, Tim, and it's not healthy for the UFO public.
Right. What happens?
They don't care about us.
They don't care about us. And what happens when they prove this all out as mundane, or the phantoms are all rockets? And, the fact is that even look at some of the releases that we're getting from the military and from Jeremy Corbell and his team. A lot of that stuff potentially could be rockets.
Could very well be. Tim, another great UFO report. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, my man. Very much appreciate it. Thank you to Swamp Dweller and everybody from Merle on down for Ghosts of the Great White North. A great show indeed right here on Spaced Out Radio. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, guess what? We got room for them too. Good night.